Locker Room, with all the sports news you need, live.
Welcome back to the Locker Room. Final score was Panathinaikos 1, Rangers 1, and Rangers 1 3-1 on aggregate. And one man will be happy tonight is Alex as well. And I was just saying to Robbie before we come on air, if it was a game of rugby, I think Panathinaikos would have won that game because all the shots was miles beyond the post and all that. But I'm sure Alex doesn't care about that. You're into the next round of the Champions League. I think the next round's next Tuesday, Ibrox, Tuesday, Wednesday. Come to you first, Alex. How do you feel after that performance? I think you had to kind of like, I think it was like a storm in the first half, but Rangers got through it.
Yeah, it wasn't a fun watch, I'll be honest. I was not enjoying it. There was a lot of shouting at the telly, I'll say. A lot of nervous noises coming from me and my dad, actually. But got the job done in the end. We did. It was similar to what happened last week. A gut punch. Sort of after they got the goal back, and it was the crowd were getting behind them. They just went up the other end. 5 minutes later, a really nice finish from Diego Gassama, who is slowly becoming one of my favourite players. Got the job done through to the next round, and I'm happy. I'm happy we got that game over with because Panathinaikos really should have battered Rangers tonight.
Even we were talking about before the game that it's similar to the first leg. Obviously, I never saw the first leg, but reading the reports, Panathinaikos had a lot of the ball, a lot of the kind of like possessing and shots, and it reminded me of the first leg at Ibrox.
Yeah, definitely similarities. Rangers probably started the game I know actually last week they started the game the first 5 minutes pretty well. It was just after that for the majority of the first half where Panathinaikos were on top, but almost the whole of the first half tonight, Panathinaikos were on the front foot. Rangers were sloppy in possession. They couldn't really play out. You could see Russell Martin on the byline getting frustrated because they were giving the ball away pretty cheap play. There was some crazy moments. The one that comes to mind was Nasser Dajiga tried to pass to Tavernier, who was about a yard away and had a Panathinaikos player right next to him, and Panathinaikos nearly scored off that, but they had loads of chances in the first half. Jack Butland made some really good saves, but Rangers hung in there, and sometimes that's what it's about. Obviously, Panathinaikos get their rewards well overdue in the second half with the goal that was really poor defending, and it was a really strange header, but they get the goal, and then just a brilliant goal from Gassama. Shows his quality again, same as last week, and somehow he comes off the bench and makes an impact even quicker than he did last week, because I think it was 4 minutes off the bench last week and a minute off the bench tonight. So he's a super sub, but I think we'll see him starting for Rangers in the future because it's only a matter of time when he's making an impact like that.
Robbie, what's your take on a good night for Rangers?
I'd say probably a lucky week as well. I hope Rangers get a spoon lucky to go through in the game. You know, I said to you, Miko, before we came on air that if Panathinaikos could shoot, they'd probably win the game. It's as simple as that. I mean, you've got to give credit to obviously Jack Butland being the goalkeeper. I thought he was amazing in the two legs. He stopped it for really being a cricket score at points in the game. But I want to ask Alex on the point that Ethan mentioned there, because the amount of times Rangers gave the ball away very cheaply was baffling to me. It was something that you don't really expect to see for Rangers inside it, to be honest. Rangers were so comfortable in the ball, especially passing it around the back. But there was multiple times tonight where I don't know if it's players maybe still trying to adapt to the system or whatever, but there's so many times tonight where Taverniers try to play the ball and they miss places that are, I think Keith mentioned the Jagger one. There's just so many times Rangers are cheaply giving away the ball. Is that a bit concerning for you going into the weekend?
Yeah, I'd say so. I think there'll definitely be less pressure. Although we don't know what Jens Bertholascu's Motherwell side's going to come out like against Rangers. But, I think there'll be less pressure at the weekend. Tavernier for me was really good tonight. He looked totally off it. He got caught a few times, even in attacking positions when Rangers had the ball high up the park. He'd take too long and he'd lose it. Dejiga looks like a bit of a nervy player. It's obviously he's only played 2 games, but it looks like if you put a bit of pressure on him, he'll turn into a bit of a bomb scare. There was a lot of issues tonight. John Souttar kept driving out into traffic with no one in front of him, giving him support, kept losing it. One guy who I thought grew into it again and was actually okay, I thought, for the sort of maybe back half of the game was Max Aarons. I thought he was fine. He did lose it a couple of times again, but I think he definitely wasn't the worst in that back line. But it is concerning. Hopefully this is just teething issues. Hopefully it's just them getting used to it, getting used to playing together as well with the new boys in the team. But I think it would be foolish to sort of ignore it and brush it under the carpet. And it would be foolish not to, analyse this game properly because Rangers were not the better team tonight.
Yeah, and I think Motherwell do play a bit of high press and high octane football under Jens Bertholascu, but it's not going to be the same level as Panathinaikos played tonight. I don't think I would agree with that point. I thought Panathinaikos, although Rangers gave the ball away a lot, their pressing was very good and they did force Rangers into difficult moments. And I would agree with Max Aarons or Max Aarons, as all the commentators seem to call him. So I don't actually know if that's his name for the whole time.
Tom Miller on RTV calls him Maxi Aarons. So I don't know what's going on with that. He obviously, I'd imagine he speaks to the players, so maybe that's what Aarons wants to be called. But yeah, there's been a few interesting pronunciations.
Yeah. Well, it is strange because I've obviously we've known him for quite a while from his time at Norwich and Bournemouth, and always thought it was Aarons, but all the commentators seem to think it's Aarons, so you're not too sure. But yeah, he had a difficult first half against Pellistri again. There was one of the moments where he kind of Pellistri pressed him and he just kind of knocked him over, and then that was the first big chance that Panathinaikos had. And I thought their striker was very good as well. Yanidis, I thought he put himself about well. He was physical. He was linking up play well. And he nearly equalised on an aggregate right after Panathinaikos scored, and then obviously Rangers run up the pitch and get that goal at such a crucial time because it was against the run of play, and as Alex, you said, it was a sucker punch, and it really put Rangers back in the driving seat in a comfortable position.
Ethan, you mentioned a bit of pace there, and it's funny because I had obviously Motherwell on Saturday, and I think I mentioned as well about Motherwell only put as much pressure on Rangers, but I think Alex mentioned the Giga there. And when you're coming up against some of these Scottish team forwards like Masvenishi at the weekend, I think they've got a new player called Cooley that's supposedly quite fast. I'm just worried about how these Rangers defenders, and specifically the Giga as well, is going to deal with that because it's a whole different level. I don't think the Panathinaikos attack were as fast as some of the attacks that Rangers will come up against this season in the Scottish League.
Yeah, I would tend to agree. I think he did look nervy at points tonight. There was one point in the second half or the first half even, where he headed the ball up and put John Souttar in a really difficult scenario, and that was the one where it hit the hand, but it was never a penalty. But yeah, he looks a little bit unsure, but a lot of the players do, and I think that's only natural with the way Russell Martin's trying to play. It's obviously a new style. Were you going to say something there, Alex?
Yeah. I'm just saying, can I just interject there? I don't think, maybe that I'll probably get proven wrong, but I don't think De Giga will play against Motherwell. I think he'll put Fernandez in. I think Fernandez is more suited to dealing with Scottish forwards. I don't know if any of you have seen him, but he's a tank. He's an absolute tank. He's pacey. Maybe he's not been given the opportunity in these games because he's not played at high level. Maybe he's not on the ball as comfortable as what Russell Martin would want in a European kind of game. Although De Giga did look uncomfortable at moments, or he did have good moments as well. But yeah, I think we might see a pairing of Suter and Emmanuel Fernandez against Motherwell on Saturday.
Possibly, because Fernandez hasn't really had his shot really, and he hasn't had his shot in a competitive match yet. So until you play him and put him in that experience of course, he's played at a competitive league level and the Championship, but playing at the pressures of Rangers, we always say is a different story. And of course, Europe has a completely different story. So yeah, I think he could play, and I think because the next rounds next week, obviously the third round, the first leg's next week, as Michael mentioned at Ibrox, then he'll probably rotate some of the squad of what he plans to be starting 11 next week, because he's got a big bench and a lot of quality on the bench. Some of those players maybe not fully fit. Some of those players maybe looking elsewhere. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see what team he fields at the weekend. But I think it'll be a tough test, but one that Rangers should, of course, look to take 3 points.
I think as well, Alex, on the show before the game, I kind of gave you the crystal ball and say, well, what was Russell Martin saying to his players? And I think we now know what he did say to the players, because Panathinaikos scattered well, like they scattered in the front foot, and maybe he said to the team, you've got to rig the storm for about 30 minutes. And Rangers did come into the game a wee bit at the end of the first half, but I mean that was important for Rangers to keep a good shape and regular luck at times, because I mean it's European football. I mean you're always going to be rigging your luck at times, and I thought they did that well tonight. On the other hand, it didn't help if I think they were lucky at times, because I think no disrespect to Panathinaikos, but I thought they were playing rugby sometimes as well, where the ball's going high, wide and handsome,
Yeah, they couldn't hit a barn door with a shotgun with some of the shots that they were taking. It was really, really poor finishing, much like last week. And Rangers did ride their luck at times. It was it was wave after wave, sort of crashing on the Rangers backline as the rocks, I guess you could say. And they weathered it for quite a while up until that strange. It was a good header, but it was quite strange the way he drifted off. And I remember when they were VAR checking it, I put it in my university chat, and I also said to my dad that this is onside, because I could see Nasser De Giga's foot. He was just a bit too deep, and he was playing him on, and but obviously, in the end, it did work out. But at that moment, I was thinking, they've been beaten away at the defence for a while. They finally broke through, and I thought the floodgates were going to open, and they nearly did with that chance that you mentioned. They nearly equalise. Minutes later, and then obviously Rangers go up and score. So it was quite concerning. But like you said, you have to ride your luck. I think at at times in big games like this.
And of course, Robbie, Panathinaikos got the goal at the beginning of the second half, and you're thinking, okay, game on, but Rangers responded in good fashion. I must say that if Willie Coram is watching this programme, don't worry, UEFA ref gets it wrong as well, and spend about 20 minutes looking at a very simple kind of like decision, Robbie.
I think the Panathinaikos fans were getting ready to storm the pitch at one point, man. It was taking that long, but it was a weird start of the second half, and it was a weird goal as well. It just came for a ball that didn't look like it was resulting too much. I actually thought one of the Rangers defenders, I can't remember who it was, right, should have dealt with it maybe a bit quicker, and that wouldn't have happened, but it was just a weird goal. It was a really weird way you can see the goal. I've watched it back a couple of times and I still can't tell if Butland should have done better or not. It was just one of the headers that just seemed really strange. And unless you're in Butland's position, I suppose you don't know if you should have dealt with that better. But Rangers kept their composure well. Obviously went off the park, managed to find the equaliser. I think I saw somebody put on X or Twitter, whatever you call it. Rangers fans will be expecting Gassama to score his first touch every game now, because that's what he seems to do every time. But it's a real impactful player. He gets himself forward. He's got a real bit of pace. He gets himself into good positions, and I think if you're good enough to hold in the game for that long, you deserve an equaliser in the game. Rangers got it.
Just on Gassama, sorry, just on Gassama there as well. I think he's maybe played just under or just over the equivalent of like a half of football for Rangers, and he's already got 2 goals. So I'm getting really excited. I will be expecting him to score every time he comes on with his first touch, or else he's rubbish. Get him gone. False promises early.
On that point, Ethan, that might be a bit harsh as well, but I thought Jack Butland was a bit flat-footed for that goal.
Yeah, I think you could definitely make that point, but I think it was just poor defending from Rangers as a whole. They get pulled apart slightly, and you could see half of the back four was playing. Well, Nasser Deziga was obviously playing him onside, but Max Aarons, I can't remember if he was playing him onside or nearly playing him onside, and then the other two were obviously higher up, and Deziga's usually the right centre half, so Rangers were kind of had been pulled apart, and obviously before the ball came out and got recycled before they crossed it, so it was just a bit of a mess. But Panathinaikos, that was the chance they took, but they really should have been ahead before that, and that's what's cost them ultimately. Across the 2 legs, they had 30 shots, 10 on target, and were expected to score 3.3 goals. So, they just didn't deserve to go through across the 2 legs. Rangers took their chances. Gassama, it's an absolutely brilliant technique for the goal. It just hits it first time, and you see him from the kind of behind angle that he's running away off celebrating before it even hits the post, because he just knows it's in. And I think everyone knows as soon as it left his boot that it was hitting the back of the net. So yeah, a brilliant bit of quality from him again. And I don't think he will be coming off the bench much more often if he's producing stuff like that.
No, I definitely don't think so. He does look a talented player, and one thing I noticed as well, the same happened last week after he gets subbed on. Rangers had a bit of danger on the wing. There was, and when Jefty came on and they moved to the 5, them two seemed to link up quite well, and it looked Max Aarons looked more comfortable on the right hand side, as we've all been saying, and it looked better with an actual left back down there combining with a really good winger.
It's really just Alex, because one player we haven't mentioned yet, Finlay Curtis, I actually thought whenever he did get the ball, and it wasn't many times, I'll be honest, because Rangers were defending for a lot, but anytime he did end up with the ball, he was dribbling and taking that Panathinaikos defence on. I thought he was a real good attacking threat in the first half for the small amount of chances he got. So it's funny you say that, but I agree with you. I do think when the changes were made and Gassama and stuff came on, you did look a lot sharper, but it's just interesting to me that Curtis looked pretty sharp as well in the game.
Yeah, I think with Findlay Curtis, he sort of did his best. I think obviously there's a bit of an age gap there. I think 3 years. Gassama's 21, so he's had a bit more time. I think on the face of it, he is the better player. But Curtis, he did make some good runs, and I think he won a couple of corners for us, and when we really needed a bit of sort of pressure off. Although what I would say, there was moments where I thought he maybe could have tried to take a man on, and he thinks about it and he goes back, which can be frustrating. But yeah, he is still very young. He's 18. Make me feel old, man. You see these guys coming through. The Rangers linked with Mikey Moore, 17-year-old, younger than my little brother, um, coming through. So it's yeah, but I agree with you there, Robbie. I think Findlay Curtis was decent, but I think you could definitely see Gassama's a better player than him, and it did improve when he came on the park.
I think there's a lot of players from that starting 11 tonight that Russell Martin will have to have a look at, as whether they're sort of really first names in the team sheet, first choice 11. I don't think. I know he kind of came short and got on the ball a few times, but again, Danilo was quite quiet in front of goal, really, and maybe that's no fault of his own because Rangers aren't getting the ball to him. But yeah, I just thought he was quite quiet again. And another thing with Max Aarons, I agree with the point that he was definitely better when he went over at the right-hand side. But again, when you're playing against, I think Rangers will definitely play against better teams than Panathinaikos in Europe this season. And if you're playing like that and giving the ball away that many times, then there will be teams that will be a better level that will punish you. Because Panathinaikos didn't tonight, and if Rangers want to qualify for the Champions League, I don't think those sort of errors, as common as they were tonight, can be afforded in the future. But it's only the second competitive match, so of course, as we always say, there is going to be teething problems with it.
Just on your Danilo point,
yeah,
sorry,
you go,
Michael. Just on his point about Danilo, I don't know if I'm being generous to him, but I don't think you can blame him for anything. I thought he was trying to get involved, nobody was getting close to him, and you saw that you saw when Dessers came on that he was more suited to being up there himself. Because he can actually kind of win things, whereas Danilo maybe isn't as physically kind of capable as him. I think with a player like Danilo, you need to get close to them and link with them, and you could see him try to get involved. He also did a good bit of defensive work as well, so I don't think you can totally blame him for that. But I just wanted to address that there. And I just saw that comment pop up on the screen. I think he was booked for jumping the advertising boards because I don't know, something about inciting a riot or something, or because I think the Rangers fans were up high, so it looked like from the camera angle he was celebrating in front of the Panathinaikos supporters, which probably would have made them a bit upset. But yeah, I think he was. It's because when the stadium's like that, I think it's equivalent to jumping into the crowd.
Robbie, and I know Panathinaikos was beat tonight, but I think they certainly beat all of the Scottish clubs for the loudest PA system. I don't know about you guys, but I had to turn the volume down in my house. In fact, if I opened my window in the room, I think I could hear them over in Greece. That was the loudest foghorn PA announcer I've ever heard.
They were loud fans as well during the whole night. They really made a big atmosphere, and I think, just I know you're having a joke, but on the actual defeat, I think they shot themselves in the foot. They had so many chances. If this game was played in 2 months and it played out exactly the same, Panathinaikos would have probably wiped the floor with Rangers, because I think it's just one of these games that have came a bit early in the season. That's no excuse. you've got to finish your chances to get through a tie like this, and at the end of the day they didn't. But to me, it's just one of the pre-season in quotes sort of games where it's still quite early. Players are still trying to get back into the swing of it, but full credit to Rangers to manage to hang in there. One player that really disappointed me actually was Palestrian. It was the player I picked out last week to watch in their team because I thought he was going to be the main danger man, but I just don't think he nearly created enough. And any chance he did get, like the one I think it was about 15 minutes in, you've got to take chances like that.
Definitely, I definitely agree. As I said, I thought Ioannidis, the big striker, I thought he was the best player, and I know he didn't score, but I thought he just carried a threat throughout the match and was linking up, was winning fouls, was bumping into Rangers defenders. I thought he was definitely the danger man, but. Yeah, they were pretty good, Panathinaikos. Just when it came to that end product, that final finish, that they just were way off the mark. As Michael said, that it was almost like they were playing rugby on occasions with some of the shots.
I've got to thank Robbie for pointing it out last week, and I'm going to mention it because I wasn't in the show. Finally, Cutter scored the goal at Ibrox last week, and to open the scoring for Rangers. But Alex, I always say in the show that if you throw a young player into the team, okay, he might not have it might not have a decent game, but he would try his best, because I always feel that if you throw a young player into the team like Cutters, or like Ross McCausland, as we saw before, they've got no fear. Whereas if you throw in, say, like a Tavernier or a kind of senior player like that, they would have, they would have nerves as well. But if you throw in a youth player against Panathinaikos, or even for Parkin Saturday night against Motherwell, they will have no fear, because they've got this mentality that, well, this might be my only chance for Russell Martin to pick me again. So then they haven't got any fear,
Yeah, definitely. They like you said, they play without fear. They play without the shackles of years of, I guess, experience, you could call it, but you could also call it, thinking, oh, that didn't work that time, so I want to try it again. They play without that, and they, especially, I think, with a boy like Finlay Curtis, who's grown up, boyhood Rangers supporter, and he's been given this opportunity. He's going to grab it with both hands. He's going to give it everything he's got. He's not going to take it for granted, like maybe some players who are bought in at older ages might take it for granted. You know what I mean? He's going to give 100%, 110% every time. And you know what's good about that as well? As a support, you back your boy, you back your homegrown sort of players, and if you can see that they are giving their all, the fans will give everything to them as well, and it can turn into like a really sort of feel good kind of rise for young players. But hopefully he can continue. But the main thing is he does need to perform. I think effort only gets you so far. He really tried. You can really try and still be rubbish. So, still give him time. I'm not saying that yet, because he's been decent. He obviously got the goal last week. He was decent tonight. But yeah, we need to, if he keeps getting given these opportunities, I think we need to see a bit of a performance in return. Not expecting miracles, obviously, because he's still only 18. But a couple of goals here and there.
Michael, I'm impressed. It only took you 27 minutes to mention him getting a youth player into a team for a Scottish club.
There'll be more to come.
Alex, I want to ask you one player on the other side that is getting a kind of negative reaction for what I've seen on social media is Kieran Dibble out of the two legs. Obviously, he's been picked both times to start. What are your thoughts on him?
He was rubbish. Absolutely rubbish. No impact whatsoever. I think he did put effort in, but like I said, if it only gets you so far. So, that's an interesting comment that just came up there. I think we could talk about that in a little minute, but yeah, Kieran Dill was rubbish. And to address that comment, how do I think this team would perform in the Premier League? I think they'd get relegated. I think they would. They'd get relegated in the first season, probably bottom. But I think the argument is always, though, if you put Celtic and Rangers in the Premier League and gave them the money that comes with it, they'd be able to build it up over a few years. A lot of the people who argue about it online don't seem to understand that our side of it is, if the financial disparity wasn't there, we think we would have a decent chance to push for maybe top 6 or even top 5 now, as it is for Champions League football, and sort of be in amongst it. We never said that the teams we have right now would compete in the Premier League. This wee guy laughing at me now.
Some Celtic fans think beating Newcastle before a pre-season friendly automatically puts them top 4 in the Premier League. So,
is that not how it works? I thought that was how it works. No, I agree with Alex. I think Celtic and Rangers would be pretty lucky to not to avoid relegation without the TV money down there. It's a drastic difference, and but it's something that's probably never going to happen. So I don't think it's worth too much thought. But I was just going to say, in Switzerland, it's still 2-1 to Victoria Pilsen on the night and 2 each in aggregate. Both teams have now got a red card as well. Yeah, 2 red cards in 3 minutes. So both teams down to 10 men. That one heading to possibly extra time and penalties as Rangers find out who they'll play next week.
And of course, we'll be on for that game. I think it's next Tuesday, I think, at Ibrox as well. So, again, Rangers has got an advantage as well. But I mean, it's all right me saying this after the game, Alex, as well. But on a big European night, that you would want the second game. You would want the second game to be at home, because then you would rather have that than the first game. Late enough that the argument doesn't stack up now, obviously, because Rangers won the kind of like first leg.
Yeah, I was always of the opinion that it's better to have the home leg second, but my dad's always been of the opposite opinion. I could never understand, why. And I think he just liked the fact that you have your chance to go at home, and I'm probably butchering his point completely, but you have your chance to. You start strong. You start with your fans behind you, and you have the chance to get in front. I'm still of the opinion that the home leg second is best. I think we've seen Rangers utilise that over the years, especially on their run to the Europa League final. Leipzig and Braga comes to mind. And those ones, although they did beat Red Star Belgrade 3-0, and the home leg was first. So, those are definitely, but it's definitely an interesting point. But I like the fact that my thinking is now, obviously the away goals rule isn't a thing anymore. So now my thinking would be, you like to go away from home first, maybe nick a draw or a win. Like Hibs got a draw in Midtjylland, and they get to come back to Easter Road and really go for it with 20,000 people behind them. And if it was Rangers' case, maybe a draw or a win, go back 50,000 people behind them, or even lose by 1 goal. You've got the fans to power you through it.
Yeah, and I think, I don't know if it's changed, but I think I heard, I might be completely wrong, but I think I heard for Celtic's playoff game, even though they're seeded, usually I think it used to mean that if you were the seeded team, then you played your second leg at home. But I think we've seen with Rangers and Celtic that's no longer the case. It's just you're seeded, and it means you get well, in theory, you should get a weaker opponent, but it doesn't mean you either play home or away first. I think that's completely random again. But yeah, it does look like you're right, Michael. It does say at the moment the Rangers are playing next Tuesday, so probably the same as that tie there, Tuesday for the home leg at Ibrox, and then possibly Wednesday for the away leg in Czech Republic or Switzerland.
Sorry to go slightly off topic, but just in terms of the cup draw that happened for the in Scotland, the League Cup draw, was that always alternate fixtures? Was it always a seeded team sometimes played away, or has that recently changed as well?
I don't know. I think it's random. I think it's just seeded and unseeded the same. But I'm not too sure. Because I know there's some seeded teams that are playing at home this year and some seeded teams that are playing away. And I think it was the same last year as well, but I'm not too sure.
I mean, I did notice because I know Hearts got obviously us at our run, but obviously they were seeded, so I thought they were like a home team, but I don't know if that's always been the case, or they've just recently changed that.
Yeah, not sure. I think actually the sort of Champions League, I think Celtic, I know this is about Rangers, but I've just seen here that Celtic have kind of got a lot better idea of who they might get. So the teams that Celtic can get are Slovan Bratislava, Kairat Almaty, I think that is, FC Basel, Karabag, Skendija, Dinamo Kiev, Paphos, and Sturm Graz. So all teams.
A host of top-tier European clubs. The cream of the crop right there. There's a couple in there that could be stumbling blocks. Basel, Sturm Graz, Dinamo Kiev, obviously thwarted Rangers. Yeah, Karabag as well. So, yeah, it's it could be interesting, but to be honest, I don't see any other way apart from Celtic qualifying.
And if you recognise this joke, if Celtic plays Karabag, it'll be 5 pence to get in because it's a bag. Right, let's move on swiftly because no one got that joke apart from Ethan and myself. But thanks for watching tonight, guys. I'll be back next season. So just come back to the. Yeah, just get the show back on the road, as to say. Let's all build confidence to Russell Martin, and as I said to you before the game, Alex, let's all bring more supporters on board because obviously it was a 50-50 split with the Rangers support, but going away tonight to perform. Not a great performance, but I kind of they had to weather the storm at times tonight. But I think that some fans bought into get behind Russell Martin now and move on to Saturday against Motherwell before they go back to the Champions League next Tuesday night.
Yeah, well, it's a results business, and they got the result, and that will get fans on side. But if they go to like you said, they head to Fir Park on Saturday. If they go there and they don't get the result, plenty of those fans will jump back off the Russell Martin bandwagon. So it's I think it's the best way to describe his kind of supporting contingent. As it's on a knife edge right now. There's still a lot of people looking and seeing what he's about. So it could go either way, but there's still a long way to go for that.
Yeah, still a long way to go, Robbie. Obviously, that's the Rangers' second competitive game of the season. But we always speak about in football that losing games is a habit, but also winning games is a habit as well. But also, I think for Rangers, winning games in the Premier League is a must win for Rangers on Saturday and for the rest of the season, because as we saw last season, I think Motherwell went to Ibrox and beat them. I think it was 2-0 or something like that. So they would have to win more games, and more games they win, the more confident they will be.
I will. I always think it like, Martin will probably have a wee checklist somewhere. Last week it was get through your first home game as a Rangers manager. Second thing on the list, get through the away leg, but also guarantee yourself league phase until at least January. Rangers weren't guaranteed that before picking up the result tonight, so that was another thing that had to get checked off. Next is obviously beat Motherwell, but for overall in the season, you need to beat these teams that Rangers couldn't really beat last season. It was dropping the silly points to Motherwell or St Mirren, whoever else it was in the league. It was doing that last season too many times, which is why they fell so far behind Celtic. So, it's just wee steps for Martin, but he's got after a good start. He's got the fans on his side. Still a lot of work to be done. We mentioned the teething issues and stuff earlier. That'll all come together. I'm sure Rangers can get right behind Martin, because I think it will work out. I think he'll be a good manager for them.
Yeah, and he's got off to a really good start. Maybe not performance-wise, it's not what he would have wanted, but I think he'll understand that it's not going to be perfect straight away, but the results have been there. In tough European games, draw away, win at home is seen as a good result. When you're playing teams of similar opposition of similar level. And I know maybe it's cliche to say, but I think every game or most games in the Scottish Premiership are going to be pretty difficult this season, because the league, a lot of the teams have strengthened really well and are all looking good going into the season. Especially you're looking at Hibs, Hearts and Aberdeen, but even the likes of St Mirren have strengthened again, Motherwell, obviously have the new manager, Kilmarnock the same, Falkirk are a sort of surprise package in the league, and I've not even mentioned some of the other teams. So yeah, I think most games are going to be difficult, and Rangers will need to find a rhythm, a winning rhythm to get into, because ultimately that's how you win the league, and that'll be what Russell Martin will be judged on, whether it's fair or not.
I think it's the only Rangers fan that's on to me is Alex as well. But I mean, I know what Ethan's saying here, like winning ugly. But if you ask any Rangers fans tonight, they wouldn't give a jot how many shots that they had at goal or how many corner kicks they would get took. The only interesting thing they would be interested in is the final score at the end of the 95 minutes tonight.
Yeah. I think that's, sorry to jump in there, but that's 100% true. I don't. I couldn't care less about the sort of underlying stats. That because the main stat is the one, and you see in the top left of the screen, and over the two legs, Rangers get more of them than Panathinaikos did, and they progressed. So at the end of the day, that's what you're happy about. Obviously, performances is a thing that you want to see improvement in, because you can't ride your luck all the way to a league title or all the way to the Champions League phase. You simply can't do that. You need performances, but I'm fairly confident we'll see them come in the future.
Yeah, and just an update from Switzerland. Victoria Pilsen have went ahead in the 85th minute. Well, they were already ahead, but now 3-1 on the night, 3-2 in aggregate. So looking like it could be a trip to Czech Republic in a fortnight's time for Rangers.
Another thing as well, by the way, we've not mentioned, Rangers done really well considering the weather. I was reading there, John Sutter was speaking after the game, and he mentioned how boiling it actually was out in the pitch. So credit as well to Rangers, because we know being Scottish, it's, know the type of heat probably half of the players are used to.
Yeah, exactly. And obviously the players, the Greek players or the players playing for Panathinaikos will be used to that almost all year round. Obviously it's not as warm as it is tonight there throughout the year, but most of the months. They'll be used to it, and Rangers aren't. And yeah, you could caveat the other way. Last week, maybe they weren't used to going to Ibrox in that temperature, but it's definitely more difficult to play in a really uncomfortable warm temperature rather than and it obviously wasn't last week, but a really uncomfortably cold temperature.
Yeah, no, exactly. So 1 each on the night, 3-1 to Rangers on aggregate as well. But as we spoke about the VR goal that Panathinaikos got, and the ref took about 2 weeks to say it was a goal as well. But I mean, Rangers acted on. Rangers gave a good answer to the goal, went up the park and score. Alex, especially away from home in that hostile atmosphere as well, because they could crumble, and the fans were ready to I wouldn't say party, but like back in the game as well. But Rangers basically shut up them and went up the park and score.
Yeah. I think I said earlier, I thought once they got that goal, I thought the floodgates were going to open, and they nearly did. Nearly scored again. Yanidis a whisker away from making it 2 each, 2-0 on the night, and it was really nervy, but it was get up the pitch. One man that we've not really mentioned, who I think again was just brilliant, was Nicholas Raskin. He was obviously involved in that goal. Getting in, a lot of his driving runs really impressing me, and I'm really enjoying this sort of role that I think Russell Martin's obviously seen him as a more advanced player, and he, I've not really seen it from him before, but he's way better technically than I thought he was. But yeah, obviously he's involved with that, and then it rebounds, and we've spoken about it already. But the technique, stunning finish from Diego Gassama, and it was a crucial moment in the game. And I think in that moment, you could see like the looks on the Panathinaikos players' faces. They're going, "Oh God, we've fought for 50, 60 minutes to get back into this game, and they've gone and put the 2-goal advantage back in place." And I think that really was the moment that sort of killed the tie. Obviously, we could have put them further in the ground when Cyril Dessers was through on goal. But he does what Cyril Dessers does. He either messes it up really badly or he scores a banger, and he messed it up really badly. Nice save though from Dragowski, not taking anything away for that. But yeah, that back to that moment, I think it was a real crucial point in the game, and effectively what killed the tie off and gave Rangers the opportunity to progress.
Yeah, I would agree with that, because you had to think that Panathinaikos were going to go on to get an equaliser. I mean, as Alex said, they nearly did right after. So it would have been a really nervy last over half an hour or so. So yeah, a massive goal from Gassama gives the Rangers players the confidence, gives the Panathinaikos players the kind of, as Alex said, they just feel like they can't do it. They feel defeated. And they just didn't take their chances, as I said, across the two legs. They created enough, but just weren't clinical enough, and Rangers were. Rangers scored 3 really, really good goals, and that was the difference, the quality, and that's what it is. It's fine margins in European competitions, and Rangers had the quality players that could make the moments for their team, and Panathinaikos didn't, and that's why Rangers are progressing through to the next round.
Just on Alex's point about Nico Raskin, it's interesting because we mentioned last week how much freedom he actually had to play, and it's only a positive for Rangers now with this midfield. Last season they were getting bossed about by Hibs, Hearts, Aberdeen, but they were losing the midfield battle almost every week at points. Having a player like Raskin in there now that he doesn't need to try and I don't want to seem rude and say do it all himself, but you know what I'm getting at. He had to do a lot last season in the midfield to try and control a game. Now he's got the freedom. Now you've got players like Rothwell beside him that again he looks like he's going to be a really good player. So I'm excited to see the Rangers midfield going forward because now I feel they can actually dominate the midfield in games and they can get more time on the ball and stuff like that, move it a bit nice. It seems like a different look, a different feel Rangers team. It's encouraging to see if you're a Rangers fan.
Yeah,
definitely.
One man I wanted to ask you about, Alex, as well, was James Tavernier was getting a lot of stick last season from all quarters of the Rangers support. And tonight, watching the game, I thought it was kind of like struggling at times, or against Panathinaikos as well. I mean, how do you stand on that point about Tavernier? Do you still think he sees himself still kind of wanting on the park or struggling at times? I mean, what do you and the Rangers kind of like support? Do you still stick by him? Obviously, you're still sticking by him because you're playing for Rangers, but when you're playing at that level, I mean, you can't take any kind of risks.
Yeah. Tonight, as I said earlier, I think he was awful. I don't think he's quite finished yet. I think, I think Robbie's of a different opinion. I heard him on a friend's podcast sort of mentioning, I think that Robbie's looking at me like confused there, but I'm pretty sure I heard him say on a mate's podcast that he thinks Tavernier's time could possibly be up. Starting week in, week out.
Well, I don't think at one point it was Tavernier's time, to be honest with you. I just thought, players last for a long time at clubs these days. You see it with certain players, they're there for a while. I thought when Max Aarons came in, I certainly thought it was Tavernier's time up, to be honest with you. I didn't think Martin would ever try and play him at left back until obviously I did last week. So that's maybe definitely an indication. But look, I thought Tavernier was solid last week. I thought it was pretty poor tonight, but that's not me saying he's no still good stuff he can offer. I think he's a good player. I'll never discredit him on his ability because the stats speak for themselves. But I did just think with Aarons coming in, maybe it would be time to move him on, but it doesn't look like it's going to be that way.
No, it doesn't. I think, sorry, Ethan, I think he's got a lot more to offer. Certainly, we might see a more rotated role maybe this season. I think Rangers would need to maybe look to bring in another left back if they wanted to do that, because it looks like Ridvan Yilmaz could be on the way out the door. We forget as well, I think Dujon Sterling's still cutting about somewhere. So he could be part of that cover. He can play on both sides as well. I think he does still have more to offer, Rangers.
Yeah, it's a weird one with Max Aarons because he's been signed and everyone thinks he's going to be competing for that right back role. Obviously, Rangers need another right back on top of James Tavernier anyway, so it's unusual that obviously Russell Martin's seen him that he can play at left back and he can play that inverted role. And obviously the first two competitive matches, it hasn't worked out the best. And yes, he's grown into the game on both occasions, and then he's been moved over to his natural side and he's looked a lot better. But yeah, as a strange one, you would think, as you said, Alex, that they would sign a out and out left footer, left back, to really sort of someone that's comfortable playing in that position coming in field, because as I said earlier, you can't be having any passengers or anybody that isn't comfortable playing in their position, especially when you reach the Champions League or Europa League league phase, because the levels will probably be a slightly higher than tonight.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. So that was a brilliant night for Rangers. They had to ride the storm at times, but they got there in the end as well. And if you were a Rangers fan, you don't care if Panathinaikos had about 50 shots at goal tonight. The bottom line is Rangers are through and they will play next Tuesday at Ibrox Stadium. I don't know if that other game's finished yet, Alex.
I'm not sure. I'll have a wee look.
Yeah, it's finished
might be.
now. Yeah, finished now. Victoria Pilsen through, so it'll be a trip to the Czech Republic for Rangers.
Court kickoff, I would
Yeah.
imagine that's Tuesday night. So, thanks
Easy.
to thanks to Alex, thanks to Ethan, and thanks to Robbie. Of course, we'll be back for a brand new season scacking on Friday night with a brand new show, Robbie, and we're looking forward to it.
It could be really good. Stephen Robinson's men get ready to treble hunt for the new season, so I can't wait to talk all about it on Friday.
There you go. So the final score. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Ethan did well to just ignore that comment there, like everyone else did, and just kind of have a wee laugh up his sleeve like that one. 10 pence bag, that's a brilliant one. So the final score tonight was Panathinaikos 1, Rangers 1, and Rangers go through to the next round 3-1 on aggregate tonight. Thanks to Ethan, thanks to Robbie, and thanks to Alex for joining us tonight. And we'll see you back here at 5 o'clock on Friday night.